The Hawks have a lot of goalies, the Hawks have a lot of centers, and we have a lot to talk about today on CHGO Blackhawks. Happy Wednesday. This is the CHGO Blackhawks podcast presented by Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the Bet365 app and use our code CHGO365 when you sign up. Welcome in. I'm Jay Zawoski with Mario Tirabassi. Chloe Thiel is here running the show as well. We are a few hours removed from Blackhawks practice that was very abbreviated today as they jumped on a plane and went to Edmonton, but a lot to talk about. We've got a new contract for Adam Gajan. We've got Jeff Blashill locking in on Anton Frondell at center. Yeah. And mentioning a guy that's not even officially a Blackhawk yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're going to get to some of your mailbag questions as well, as this is our only non-game day show of the week where we get the chance to do so. So do us a favor.
Our non-game day shows are like Blackhawks practices.
Really?
Few and far between.
Yes, absolutely.
This stretch of the year.
So hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. If you're checking us out on the podcast later, follow or subscribe on your favorite app. Let's start with Adam Gajan. Signs a 2-year entry-level deal today. He will go to Rockford. He had a solid season with the University of Minnesota Duluth. 225 goals against and 2 shutouts with a .908 save percentage. 6'3", 189, big kid, gregarious kid. Remember him at the draft, was pretty funny, like really taking in the moment. But the first thing I thought was, what does this mean for Arvid Söderblom, and what does it mean for Drew Commesso?
I mean, it's interesting because I felt like Gajan would probably play a third year in college and just do what Commesso did, but he is a little bit older, so it seems like the Blackhawks feel like they want to get him into the professional system on the same age timeline, I guess you could say, for a guy like Drew Commesso. And the first year of college last year for him was rough patches. But he was the starter this year, full-time starter for Minnesota Duluth, had a really good bounce back year, played for Slovakia, or was part of Team Slovakia at the Olympics, which was really cool to see. He was part of the NCAA selects team that played at the Spengler Cup. So he's been around. Yeah. He's been around. Yeah. This year, and great for him to get all that kind of experience and just kind of be one of the guys that's just kind of been focused on in college hockey, and had a shot at getting Duluth, Minnesota Duluth, to the Frozen Four. Came real close, but they lost to Michigan. I'm good with it. I'm good with it because I think you look at the goaltending situation for the Blackhawks, and you've invested in Spencer Knight. He's your starter. You have a young guy in Drew Commesso this is now full year number 3 of being in the AHL and being the starter. And he's done well. Yep. You've got Arvid Söderblom in the NHL. He's in the backup role, and you have him under contract for 1 more year, but he's also still, 26, 27 years old, like not old.
Especially by goalie standards.
Yeah, and now you throw Gajan into the picture. You've got a guy in Stanislav Berezhnoi who came out of nowhere and actually played decently in Rockford up until he got hurt. So your goaltending stable is very young and full, but you have your starter. So it's really who's going to be the backup, or who might even develop into someone that could challenge for Spencer Knight. I don't know if any of those guys ever do, between at least Commesso and Gajan. But you can't play Spencer Knight 80 games as much as he might want to. You need a guy that can come in and be reliable. I think Drew Commesso can do what Arvid Söderblom has done in the NHL, if not
so.
better. And I think he's part of that future more. So I think as you go into next year's training camp, it's an open competition for the backup role. And I think the Hawks are probably ready for Drew Commesso to be like, here's your best opportunity to go and take it. Go and do it.
Yeah, I wonder if they even wait until training camp to make a call, because I think Drew Commesso has done everything you've asked him to do. He has been patient. He has never complained. I think we all sort of expected that he'd be in the NHL by now. Of course, training for Spencer Knight changed that overnight, right? Changed that expectation. But like you said, I'm ready to see him here. They have him more pegged to the future than Söderblom. I think he can be as good as Söderblom right now. So give him the backup job next year and see if you can move Söderblom in the offseason. He's got 1 year left. Not a tough contract. I know he has not been overly impressive, makes $2.75 million. So not someone that's going to kill you cap-wise. I just think it's time. I think it's time to give him solid NHL time. And if he can give you Söderblom numbers plus, maybe you don't feel quite as forced to use Spencer Knight as often as you've been using him. I do think down the stretch they've eased it up because you're falling out of things. So you don't want to run Spencer Knight into the ground for no reason. But if you've got a backup that you feel like every night gives you a chance to win, that gives Spencer Knight a break. And it even takes pressure off of him when he's making his starts that he doesn't have to be perfect. I don't know if they have that feeling about Arvid Söderblom, that he's the guy that gives them a chance to win every night he's in goal. He's had some really, really good performances this year.
Yes, he has.
There's no couple lately. There's no doubt about it. But there have also been, for every great one, I feel like there's 1.5 really bad ones.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
Because our friends at the Blue Lines, that I don't know what color they are now, they always seem to change. But
some lavender.
Hockey stat cards who give out the game score after each game posted the best and worst single game goalie performances so far this season. Arvid Söderblom has the second worst game score in a single game by a goalie this season, a minus 5.79 game score on November 21st this season. He also has the second best game score in a single game by a goalie this season. Earlier that month, on November 9th, he had a plus 4.68 game score, which for goalies basically comes down to, I believe, goals saved above expected. So that is literally the Jekyll and Hyde of Arvid Söderblom, where we've seen him peppered with 45 shots and he makes 41 saves. And sure, they lose the game, but like without his performance, it would have been even worse. And then we see games where, he gets a shutout and he looks like he's the reason that they win. And then we see games where he lets in 5 goals on 19 shots and they had no chance because everything was behind him. Yeah. Like it's too polar opposite for him, and a lot of times it trends towards rough games.
What were the dates of those 2 games again?
The best game was November 9th.
That is a win over Detroit where he stopped 45 of 46 shots for a .978 save percentage.
November 21st?
Buffalo.
Yes.
The 9-3 loss.
9-3, you're getting all 9 hung on you.
He stopped 22 of 31 for a .710 save percentage.
That is, I think if we were to look back at all 82 games, that I would say would be the worst game of the season.
Yes.
Just based off of score, performance, expectations. Yeah, that was.
But you could just do this, like, just name a month. Give me a month. Someone throw out a month. Just say one. August. The Hawks don't play in August. Try again. March. Thank you.
It's not whose line is it anyway.
Save percentages in March. These are Söderblom starts. 842, 936, 918, 871, 800, 1000.
Yeah.
Like that is the Arvid Söderblom story. It is
literally,
up and down and up and down and up and down. It's constantly like that with him.
Yeah.
And I think even if maybe Drew Commesso doesn't have the highest rated goalie performance of the year, you feel like if you put him in there, he's going to hold you to 3 goals or fewer.
Yeah.
Which is what you're hoping. You know what I mean? Like that, and you're just not getting that with Söderblom enough. The goals against average in March 6, 3, 4, 4, 4, 0.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes goaltenders like that can be saved by offenses that outscore their problems. We've seen the Edmonton Oilers get to the Stanley Cup final with goaltending like that.
Yep.
But this Hawks team just doesn't have that. So I think moving forward, I mean, you have to give Commesso the opportunity to take the job, right? And I think going into training camp, even last year, I would have thought, you know, you still had Brossoit. Well, in theory, you had Brossoit like around. And you just kind of looked at it and we were like, it's kind of open, right? Still, like, we're still kind of figuring out where things go. And I didn't think Söderblom was overly great in training camp, but I think what they probably did was they probably knew going into this season that they were like, we're going to give Spencer 60 games. Do we want Drew playing 15 to 20 games in the NHL or 40 or so in the AHL? I don't know off the top of my head how many he's started this year, but in Rockford. But like, it's weird with goalies because you can only play so many games. It's not like it's different than maybe an everyday player, an everyday skater. So for him to be in Rockford and get the start, like, yeah, it's not the NHL, but it's more reps. So I think now I think he's done enough. 3 full seasons in the AHL. Like, I think that's enough time to kind of figure out where he's at that level and what he can do moving forward.
33 games in Rockford for
33. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, he's gotten that time. He's done completely fine. He's been very consistent in Rockford. So I think you go into this training camp and you say it's truly open. And, you know, with Söderblom, like, you have him under contract 1 more year. If he doesn't make the team out of camp, he goes through waivers. And if someone plucks Arvid Söderblom off of waivers, okay, that's sure. Because in the grand scheme of things, he's not a long-term goalie. And even when he's been here, he's been sub 900. So that's what replacement level goaltending, if not worse than that in the league. So that's fine. So going into next season, you have Adam Gajan under contract. You have Brezhnoy. Like, if that's who's in Rockford, that's fine. Those are guys you're still developing. That's what Rockford is being used as a development ground. So you can move Commesso up. And if no one takes Söderblom, which again, like, you know, you're saying, like, and people have been like, oh, just trade him. For what? Like, why?
Yeah. There's
what did you say they got for Nick Foligno? A bag of farts?
Envelope full of farts.
Envelope full of farts. Yeah. I think it would be I think they would get the same thing for Arvid Söderblom at this point. Yeah. So do you need 2 containers of farts? I don't think so.
Hey,
1 is enough.
You know what? You can never have too many.
True. So if he goes through waivers and goes back to Rockford, fine. Then that's okay too. Like, it doesn't, I don't think that's the biggest cause of concern. I just think with having Guy on there, you start to put him on that path of like, okay, now you're going to get the majority of the reps.
To me, the wild card too is Brezhnoy. Like, what do they think he is? Like, because that's a flyer on him.
Yeah, that's a gamble.
But he's come out and, like you said, before the injury, looked pretty good. I thought he looked really good in training camp. You know, you're seeing him playing against NHL players. He did get a start in the preseason, I think, or at least he made an appearance in the preseason and held his own. Like, looked pretty solid. So I think they're like, oh, damn, okay, we got something here. So that's kind of the wild card. Do they feel like he is more part of their long-term future, or is that a guy that they have filling a space until they need to make a decision on Söderblom or Commesso? That I don't know. Didn't really dawn on me at the moment to ask Kyle Davidson about that, because you figured it was going to be Brezhnoy and Commesso or Brezhnoy and Söderblom next year.
Yeah.
But now you throw a guy into the mix. That's a 2nd-round pick. That's a kid you imagine is playing for your organization, not immediately, well, for the organization, but you see him as a Blackhawk someday.
Right, yeah.
If you're drafting him in a 2nd round. So
well, and goalies too, like, you never really know exactly what you're going to get out of them, and their development is always different. Some guys take a lot longer than others. Spencer Knight was a guy that was a 1st-round pick and was in the NHL by 21, 22 years old. And now you've seen like Commesso and now Gajan like signing at 21 years old, and just getting into pro hockey. And Corey Crawford wasn't a full-time NHL starter until he was like 26. Like it's a crapshoot with goalies. So that's why when they took Gajan, I was just like, well, they just took Drew Commesso like 3 years ago, but you just got to make sure that you have, and they didn't have Spencer Knight at that time, though. Right. But you got to make sure, like, hey, like every few years, like see what you can make out of the goalie market and see what you might need.
All right, we'll see how it shakes out. I am rooting for Drew Commesso to get an NHL job next season. Again, nothing against Arvid Söderblom, but I just think we've seen it. We know what Arvid Söderblom is.
Yeah.
Fine. I think replacement level backup, we'd like a little more. And I think Drew Commesso can provide a little more.
I like to see it, yeah. And excited for Gajan. Like he's a guy, like you just said, like second round pick. You'd imagine that they have plans for him in the NHL. If they get Knight and Commesso for the next 2-3 seasons, but then Gajan outperforms one of them or has a brighter future, he's in the mix.
100%.
We'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to hit the break zone. When we do that, you hit the like button. We'll talk to you in a few minutes on CHGO Blackhawks.
What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi, and what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That is the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, can find and fix problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And it lets you stream the game even when the whole family is online. All of your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part is there's no annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is included. Take it from us, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay the same. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions do apply.
Good, better, best. Chicago is home to that iconic slogan, and Bet365 has one of their own early payout offer. Here's how it works. The team you love goes up 10 points at any point in the game. Bet365 pays out your bet right there on the spot. It is that simple. Bet365, where winning is everything, is currently running their Bet $5. Get a $150 promo. Any new Bet365 user will get $150 in bonus bets after depositing $10 and making their first $5 bet. It's that simple. Download the app, use our code CHGO365 when you sign up. Bet365, where winning is everything. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Illinois. $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wager excluded from returns. New customers only. 21 plus only. Time limits, minimum odds, and terms and conditions apply. The offer is in-app only and void where prohibited. All right, we're back on CHGO Blackhawks, and now it is time to take the temp with our friends at Four Seasons, your trusted local experts for heating, air conditioning, plumbing, sewer, and electric. You'll need both your AC and your heating this week. That's how it goes. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. This afternoon, we got to take the temp on Jeff Blashill and his belief in Anton Frondell as a center. Why don't we hear what the Blackhawks head coach had to say? And I think you'll be surprised by his level of certainty here.
At Wayne again at some point in the season, or
not based on what I've seen. He's been. Listen, if we can get to a point, just organizationally, and you have Connor, Frondell, Frankie up the middle, you're in an unbelievable spot. And, if you get to a point where you have a guy in Anton who, looks like a player who could, similar to what you had here with Jonathan Taves, go out, play against the other team's best, but also, which then frees up, Connor and Frankie to not have to do that, and then also produce points. That's a great asset to have as an organization. So will we play with different things as we go? Maybe, but right now I'm going to leave him at center and let him continue to get those reps in the middle there and go from there.
Sounds like his mind's made up, and I got to tell you,
in the same breath as Jonathan Taves,
he's it's been 2 games, but he looks really good at center.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that his skill set really fits well in that position. He does well in the middle of the ice. As he said yesterday, it gets him around the puck more. Mm-hmm. And to play with Mikheyev and Bertuzzi, two guys that play a very simple north and south game, that line was excellent. They have been for 2 games. And Frondell the puck is finding him. He is finding the puck. He's forechecking like a mofo. I just love the way he's playing. And we all were very much looking forward to seeing Bedard and Frondell together. We're going to see it on the power play. But it really feels like that's going to be your 1-2 punch at center for the next little while here, at least as long as Jeff Blashill's coach.
Yeah, I mean, that was, the skill set that they drafted Frondell for was a guy that is a center, is big, is efficient and effective at both ends of the ice, can score, can defend. Jeff Blashill's talked already about the winning habits within Frondell's play, and a lot of it is based off of or aligns with rather the things that Jeff Blashill preaches, is just like being on the puck and being on the player and not cheating for offense. Like he's got all of those tendencies in him already as a young player, and he's big and he's strong, and there's just so much ceiling for him to still reach. And it's just, his first 5 games in the NHL, he's got a goal and 4 assists, 4 primary points out of those 5 points in 5 games. First Hawks rookie since Artemi Panarin to get 5 points in 5 games.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's as far as starts to their career as you would hope. This is pretty much as best as you probably would have hoped for Anton Frondell in his first taste of the NHL. And it's what a lot of people were excited to see. And I'd say, like the idea of him playing alongside Connor Bedard and them being like that duo moving forward. Yeah, there always is the potential to play them like that. It's not set in stone necessarily that it's going to be 1, 2, 3 Bedard, Frondell, Nazar. But if it works, like as Blashill said, like what was that before yesterday's game? If you have 3 centers down the middle that you trust, that can be effective, that can be high level players, like that is what most championship teams use to be that good and have to get to that place. So if Frondell is a long-term center, I'm not upset about it at all, because think about the Hawks Cup teams. Like Jonathan Toews was the number 1 center.
Yeah.
But then they kind of rotated who came in and out as the second and third centers based off of... And
it was always sort of like Michael Handzus? Like you're just trying to find somebody.
It was like Toews, and then it
Brad
was
Richards.
Boland and Brad Richards and Handzus. And, you'd have John Madden and Vermette and like these guys that would just pop in and out every few years. So like they were able to do it with kind of like a rotating cast. But imagine if you had... 3 solid guys down the middle for the next decade that you're like, Bedard's a number 1 center. Anton Frondell is an elite number 2 center and would be a number 1 center on other most other teams in the league. And then it's like Frank Nazar is quote unquote buried as a 3rd line center, but he's like probably the best center that's lining up on the 3rd line in the NHL. Like if you get to that point, like, man, like down the middle it's a lot like in baseball. Like that's where, in hockey, where you can get a championship level team, is having elite centermen.
Well, I like too what he said about, having, if you can have a guy like Frondell to be in that Toews role where he is defending the other team's top line while adding offense, then that frees up opportunities for Bedard and open up opportunities for Nazar. So they're not constantly the focus point of the opponent. Like, it all kind of trickles down because of that. And I just pulled up the 2014 LA Kings. We talk all the time about the Blackhawks dynasty and their centers. Here's what the Kings had in 2014 at center: Jeff Carter, Anze Kopitar, Trevor Lewis, Mike Richards, Tyler Toffoli. Like all those guys are top 6 players.
Really good players.
And some of them played wing sometimes, some of them played center sometimes, but you just had the ability to, because you've got that depth down the middle, that's what made those teams so good. And you look at the Penguins when Crosby and Malkin weren't playing together. Crosby 1, Malkin 2. Right? Like it's okay to have a guy who is probably overachieving their position, right? Frondell, Number 2 center, yeah, probably number 1 on most teams. Frank Nazar as your third line center, that is an elite third line center. Even at this point, if Frank Nazar becomes nothing more than what he is now, which I think we all feel pretty safe to say he will get better than he is now.
Yeah.
But even if this is his max, a 50-point guy as your third center, that's really good. And then you've got Oliver Moore, who Blashill has said he prefers at center, thinks he plays better at center. You've got Sacha Boisvert, who's going to play tomorrow in Edmonton. He was centering the fourth line today, and I think the plan for him is Rockford next year. You've got guys coming up too that can play center. So it's, Spellacy plays center. Mm-hmm. Who else is like a full? I guess Spellacy's not full time.
Yeah, but they have a lot of options, and a lot of the best players from college and junior and so on at those levels play center. But not all of them pan out to be
of course.
Centers at the top levels. Mitch Marner was a center in junior, and I don't think he's a center full time. William Nylander was a center in Europe before getting to North America, and he's worked out as a winger. Like Steven Stamkos was at one time one of the best centers in the league, and he then moved to the wing as time moved on. So like guys can transition from that position to the wing a lot easier than vice versa. And I mean, look at Olympic rosters, right?
Oh yeah.
Team Canada had like 13 centers.
Yeah.
Because all the best players are you end up getting down the middle. So like, yeah, I just think like when you have a position like that where in theory you have a lot of players that you expect to pan out, you can move them around. And the wings that they have, you can kind of figure them out. And if some of your best players move from center to wing, that's fine. Like I don't think just because you are a center at one point you have to continue to play that position, or if you're a winger you can't move to one side or the other. Like it can be fluid in the forward position.
Well, you have a lot of versatility at forward, even in the organization now. Burakovsky can play both wings. Bertuzzi plays both wings. Mikheyev plays both wings. Mangiapane can play both wings. Mm-hmm. Ryan Donato is a center winger. Mm-hmm. And that's where you sort of, like you were saying, like once you've got the middle figured out, the wings become very interchangeable. Next segment, we're going to talk about Roman Kantserov. That's an option. We believe they're always trying to improve the team, and maybe this is the summer they bring in a legit top 6 winger, someone to play with Connor Bedard permanently. Mm-hmm. So the pieces up front are starting to fall into place. You're seeing it. Now it's a matter of how good they get, how quickly. But I know I said this about Sam Renzel at the end of last year, where I said, I don't think this kid's ever going to play a game in Rockford. Defense is different. I think that Anton Frondell, if you were to fly down from outer space and this is your first hockey game, and say, watch this and tell me who's playing their 6th NHL game tomorrow night against the Oilers, I don't think anyone would pick Anton Frondell. That kid looks like he's been playing all year beyond it. Even just physically, he's big and filled out, and he's got that adult size that a lot of these young guys don't have yet. He's only going to get bigger and stronger and more confident. The game's going to slow down for him. I don't know, man. I think that they've got their second best player playing his 6th game tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, he's come in and he's got the skill set that translates to pro hockey really well. And having played pro hockey basically since he was 16, that helps. That puts him kind of ahead of the curve. And yeah, I mean, I think in the 2 games he's played center, he's looked really comfortable. He's also looked good on the wing. Like if you have a guy that you can play anywhere in the lineup and ask him to do anything, go out and be a scoring winger. All right, he can do that.
Yep.
Go out and be a defensive, responsible center. I think he can do that too. Go out and be a guy that plays in all situations. Like maybe he's a guy that can do that too. Maybe he can be a Jonathan Toews in that he's playing against the top matchups. He's playing on the power play. He's playing on the penalty kill, and like if you have a guy like that is one of the highest valued type of players you could ever have. So
that's the hard thing to find.
Right.
And that's what makes those guys special, you know, and I think that he's the kind of guy when you look as his career goes on, they're usually the kind that have long, productive careers that maybe evolve over time and the role lessens. But the way he plays, he's not super reliant on speed or a shot or elusiveness or whatever. It's just he is just a big, strong. I'm not comparing him to Marian Hossa, but Marian Hossa was that way, where it was just.
Who was it that compared him to Marian Hossa?
I don't know. He compares himself to Barkov.
One of our draft analyst friends, I think it might have been Stephen Ellis, I think, if I remember correctly, said that like he could, you know, I think he was still a little tentative to say Marian Hossa, but was like, could kind of be Hossa-esque. A Marian Hossa type of player.
Yes.
Which that's high praise. Barkov, that's high praise. Like those are guys that are two-way Hall of Famers. And if Frondell is anywhere near that.
If he's in that conversation.
That's a win.
Yes. If he's somewhere between Marian Hossa and Sasha Barkov, yes, we'll take that.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
All right, we're going to hit the break zone. Stay tuned for my my weird pronunciation of a word in here. And we'll be back in 2 minutes. We're going to talk about Roman Kantserov next because Jeff Blashill did too.
Sling TV is one of the most flexible ways to watch live TV. You can get more control over how and when you tune into the news, shows, and obviously sports. Sling TV came out with a game-changing way to watch live TV. They have flexible 1, 3, or 7-day pass subscriptions available that get you instant access and lets you watch sports your way. It's perfect for the last 3 games of the college basketball tournament. You can get access to the last 4 and the national championship starting at just $4.99. So you can watch Illinois and UConn. You can watch Michigan and Arizona this weekend for just $4.99. And after the tournament is done, keep those passes in mind for the NBA and NHL playoffs and for the WNBA season. Live TV your way. Learn more at sling.com for more information.
And everyone knows that I love the hoops.
Yes. If there's
when people
one
talk
thing
about the hoops, they're talking about me.
Is synonymous with Jay Zawoski, it's hoops.
The hoops. And when I like to go see the hoops in person, I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to hoops fans like me. It's the hack for unlocking amazing deals and experiences in a few taps. You want to go see the Supersonics and Bullets play each other? You can do it with Game Time. Super easy to use. The Game Time guarantee means you can trust you're getting 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. My favorite is see the view from your seat, so you know what it's going to look like. When I go to the Supersonic Stadium, I want to make sure I can see the players from the Sonics clearly. All right? You can do that with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. All right, we are back on CHGO Blackhawks. Thanks for hitting the like button. Let's get over 100. I know we can do that. Please hit it for us, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. The other thing that Jeff Blashill said today that was a little bit caught me off guard, he's just talking openly about Roman Kantserov. And usually coaches and GMs are like, well, we don't really talk about players that aren't signed yet or aren't in the organization yet. And that's the case with Kantserov. It's still, I think people are pretty confident he's coming over, but it's not a done deal that he's going to sign out of his Russian deal. So to hear the head coach talk about him so openly and plainly was kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, we're all hoping that he comes over. It's until it's done, it's not done, but I think you get excited about what you see over there, what we've seen from him, and what he's experienced in the KHL, being a top line guy, being on a team that's won the Gagarin Cup, I believe is what it is over there. And like, he's been a top producer at 20, 21, 22 years old. Like, it's been really exciting to see him play over there. So you get excited for like, okay, that's a guy that's already played 5 seasons of pro hockey. Like we just talked about with Frondell, like he's played pro hockey for the last 2-3 years in Sweden. Now you have a guy that's played 4 full KHL seasons, I think it is. Like, that's a lot of development against grown men competition. And yeah, it's not the NHL, but it's, you know, KHL is no slouch league.
Nope.
And for a guy to go over there and produce like he has at the age he has, like, it's very exciting. So to hear Blashill basically be like talking like he's in the plans, that's exciting too.
Let's hear him. Here's what Jeff Blashill had to say about Roman Kantserov today.
I know leading up to Frondell's arrival, you've mentioned Kantserov some too. What have you seen from him, and why have you made a point of just making sure to be on top of some of those guys?
Well, obviously, you know, Frondell, Kantserov, those are guys that you know, I wanted to see if they can have immediate impact come next season. I felt strongly and still feel strongly that both can. They're you know, and it's great that honestly that both of them have played center and wing, so it gives you flexibility. When I've watched Kantserov, he's very, very high intelligence, very, very good with the puck, very accountable and defensively as well. Looks like a guy who's got a great give-and-go game, who's really, really smart. I think he can be a big impact guy, and he's also got a lot of experience now. He's got, I think, 3 years of KHL experience, of which he led the league in goal scoring this year. So, you know, he's a guy that I think can make an immediate impact, you know, if that's the way, if he chooses to come over.
That's it. I mean, he's seeing Kantserov as another Frondell in terms of plug and play and expectations.
That's how I see it too. Like you have a guy like that. Second time I'll mention Artemi Panarin. Like he was a guy that a little bit older, a little bit more experienced in the KHL, but he was one of the top players over there, and then jumped into the NHL and seamlessly fit right in and was a top guy. Now is Roman Kantserov going to jump in and be a 70-plus point player right away? Hey, I'm all for optimism. That'd be wonderful.
Panarin was 24 when he came over, for the record.
And Kantserov is...
He'll be 22 when the season starts.
22, yeah. So, I mean, you know, not far off, but I definitely feel like Kantserov has the ability to step in and be like Frondell has, at least so far, where it's just like he steps in and you're like, yeah, he belongs. Like he's going to be a fixture in the lineup, and I'm all for it.
When later on in the presser, and the whole thing is available on our YouTube page if you want to check it out, Jeff Blashill mentioned like Bedard setting up chances for Lardis and for Green, and said, like, you know, as Nick Lardis goes on in his career, he'll finish on more of those chances. I'm confident he will. He's done it his entire life.
2 rookies, yeah.
He's a goal scorer. But when you add somebody like Kantserov, or a free agent, or a trade piece, whatever it might be, someone who is a established professional scorer, that's going to change it. We talk about it night after night after night. 1-goal losses, overtime losses, late losses,
right? All
those sort of things, where those dynamite chances that you get early on in the game, like Nick Lardis got yesterday, instead of a save, it's a goal. Mm-hmm. If half of those become goals instead of saves, then you're talking about piling up points. And when you're in a playoff race, 5, 6, 7 points make a massive difference this time of year. It's just look at the Winnipeg Jets, who everybody wrote off, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden they're picking up points and they're right back in the playoff conversation, like just like that. So it's closing finishing those moments, closing on those scoring opportunities, and hopefully Kantserov and Frondell being here for a full year, not to mention whoever else they bring up, not to mention the further development of Lardis, Nazar, Moore, everybody, and it's all gonna raise everything. That's the hope. It's a lot of hope.
Yeah,
it's you're betting on a lot to go right, but forward wise, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say if Kantserov comes, if Frondell is who you think he is, you added 2 top 6 players for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's what this rebuild has been kind of building towards, is getting to this point where all these top picks, all these guys that, you know, we've been excited about, like they start to kind of reach those next steps that we've been hoping for them to do. And I think, you know, Kantserov was an early 2nd round pick, but I think part of that, you know, through the draft, we've seen, unless you're like elite of the elite, cannot deny you kind of things, like sometimes overseas players will maybe fall back a little bit because the scouting is different. from team to team. But, he's a guy that I think if you go back and if you were to go back and redraft the 2023 draft, I think he probably goes higher than the second round.
I think so too, yes.
So and that's just based off of what he's done in Russia and the projection of what he could become. Like, I think, he's a guy that feels like also too, he's not the biggest guy, but maybe if he was that magical 6 feet tall, he's a first round pick. So I think those things played into the favor of the Hawks when they were scouting him and got him in the second round. And it's panned out so far that his development is projecting to be a guy that hits the NHL at early 20s and is projected to be like ready to go. Like, that's awesome. So to have that be a draft pick, to have it, have Frondell be a guy that, looks like it's early, of course. But like, looks like a guy that is on the path to being like, that's going to work out nicely. It just gives you even more excitement to already see some of the guys that have been here. Like you just mentioned, like Connor Bedard's wingmen for the last few games have been rookie Ryan Green and rookie Nick Lardis. Yeah. And you've had rookie Oliver Moore.
It's funny. I don't think people think of Ryan Green as a rookie just because he's like, 22, 23. It's like, old man.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The old haggard veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like all these players that, going into next season, even Frank Nazar this year is his first full NHL season. It's just his second full pro year of hockey. And like, it's just so, there's just still so much to learn for these guys and to grow and develop and going into next season, they're not going to be first year guys. Like they won't be, you'd hope, learning some of these lessons that they've learned this year. It'll already be learned and there will be more time, within the system and with each other and learning chemistry of each other. And it all just, it takes some time, but I think going into next year, you can add in Frondell, you can add in Kantserov, and even just those two additions for a full season. Yeah. I mean, I think you're talking about a team that, again, we're going to probably talk about it going into the season, projections for points and all that stuff. Basically what we thought this team could do to improve last year to this year, they've hit. And maybe we were a little bit like, maybe even 80 points, but that was pretty optimistic. But we were in the mid 70s of like, that's what this team probably could land on. Yeah. And they're still on pace to hit that. Now it would be nice if they get a couple wins to close out the year.
Right.
But they've already taken strides year over year.
And we also did that number with the assumption of health for Bedard and Nazar.
Yeah, you lose Nazar and Bedard overlapping each other and Bedard for a whole month. Like, that impacts things. But I just think going into next season with the guys that they're going to have, the growth that's going to happen, it just feels like, you could definitely see a team that maybe at the bare minimum is reaching 80 points. And then if you're trying to be optimistic, you're talking about chasing a playoff spot.
And you move to the Pacific Division, boom.
Yes.
Division title, baby.
More NHL expansion means the further west the Blackhawks could
Keep
go.
pushing them west.
Yeah.
Get them in the Pacific. Just one final thought on Kantserov too is Blashill said, like, it's a guy who's got an all-around game. He's not just a one-dimensional scorer. So even if he comes to the NHL and is not immediately a 70-point guy, like you mentioned, he's still going to be effective in other roles. He's not like he's got to be top six or bust. He's a guy that you can probably play anywhere and have him work his way up. Yeah. So maybe you put him on if the goals are not coming immediately, instead of just throwing him out there with Connor Bedard, you put him out there with Nazar and Oliver Moore and see how that looks. Or, him and Mikheyev and whoever, you know what I mean? Just to kind of see where he fits in. But I'm telling you, like, next season's going to be exciting. Mm-hmm. I've got my reservations. We talked about it a couple days ago about going into the season with 7 defensemen this young, because it's not been good since we've gotten a look at it since Grzelcyk went out. But you're starting to see, I think next year is like, okay, the pieces we've been talking about since the inception of this company are all going to be there.
Which pretty much lined up with the rebuild.
It did.
Because our first day was like 3 days after Kyle Davidson was named full-time GM.
Yeah.
So we are the rebuild.
We are. Yes. Yes, we are. All right. We've got some mailbag questions we want to definitely get to. I don't see any super chats there, so we don't have to worry about that. If you want to send one, go ahead. We'll get to it.
I almost Dustin Browned it.
At the wrong end. Didn't a bear did that this year? Was it Cal Monungai did that?
No, was it Jade Walker?
Oh, maybe, yeah. Someone had the bottle upside down.
Yeah, I tried to. Yeah, that's not the way to do it.
Nope, that's not right.
Whew, that could have been bad.
All right, Chloe, let's get one here. Bowling Twig 80
Speaking of
has a question.
Dogs.
Jiri Felcman. That's how you say it. We heard him say it. We listened to a video of him saying his own name, Felcman.
More of those, please. Adam Gajan did the same thing too.
Yes, he did. Yeah. And we've been saying that right. Good job, us. Bowling Twig says, just saw that not only did Felcman sign a PTO with the IceHogs to finish out this season, essentially, but that he's signed his ELC, which begins next season. Does this mean that he'll begin next year in Rockford? Also, what do you believe we're getting in Felcman? Yes, I think he will be second line center of Rockford next year, probably behind Sasha Boisvert.
Yeah, I think
or Spellisy or somebody in that role.
Yeah, he'll head to Rockford. Now anything can happen. We all assumed Ryan Green would be in Rockford for most of the year, and he's been in Chicago all year. So yeah, I mean, I think for him, like going to Rockford, it's a transition to North American hockey. Like I think that'll be good for him. We've seen, the talent depletion from the IceHogs this year because of all the young guys moving up. Like it'll be good to have a new group go through. Spellisy, Vanacker, Boisvert, Felshman, like have them all together. Like that'll be a good group to have. He's a big guy. He's not a flashy point producer, but he is stout around the net, like a guy that you can play in that spot. And like we talk about the Hawks needing players that can be big, can be physical, and can play in those kinds of areas. He's a guy that does that. He's also got time on the PK over in Switzerland where he was playing. So I would say like don't have like the highest of expectations for him because there's still a lot to kind of figure out. But as far as like the way his profile breaks down, it could be a guy that maybe in a couple of years you're talking about in a bottom six role that is that big body presence, can go to the front of the net.
The next Sammy Paulson.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Like be a guy that, is going to go out there and maybe not be the biggest difference maker, but can do some of the small things that make those role players really like effective. And I think if he can find a way to do that, find a path to the NHL, like that's a good little career he can carve out for himself.
All right. What do we got next, Chloe? Let's go to Warm Bedards, who is someone not named Robertson, Nyes, or Neighbors. I think he means Thomas.
Jake Neighbors.
Nice. That you would want the Hawks to target this season, meaning next season. Since the asking price was Levshunov for Nyes, is there any trade where you would reluctantly let him go? Well, I still find it flummoxing that part of our fan base wants to move on from a 20-year-old defenseman. Is there any scenario where if he's part of the asking price, you'd consider doing it? Okay, let's do the second part first. Is there any trade you're considering moving Artem Levshunov in?
Yeah. In a hypothetical world where you would trade for Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes or Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid or Leon, like, yeah, I would. But I think if you're going into a reality, there'd be a short list of players that I would be like, yeah, that I would do that. And it would have to be for a player that is elite, fits the timeline, and fills a need that they don't really have.
Right.
And those players aren't just available all the time. And I think
Macklin celebrating.
As we were talking about like with the the Nyes stuff.
I'm not giving him up for Nyes.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Because there's still there is still so much to learn about him and see what he can become. And he is 86 games into his NHL career. That's just over a full season. His season's over. He'll be 21 at the start of next year. Like he just post trade deadline basically was given the opportunity to be like, you're going to get 20 plus minutes a night. You're going to play power play. You're going to play penalty kill.
Right.
You're going to do number one defenseman stuff. Like he's finally gotten the full opportunity to do that consistently in the NHL. And this hand injury kind of sucks because he doesn't get to close out the season. But like, there's still so much to figure out about his game, and that's okay. Yeah. And if he pans out and becomes the 22+ minute a night power play, penalty kill, top pair guy that you drafted him number 2 overall to be, you don't just give those guys away.
And the other thing you got to keep in mind with this too is they don't have anyone that projects that way.
Defensively, no.
No, like Levshunov has to be a top pair guy for them. And I don't mean like top pair because they suck and he's on the top pair.
Right.
Like a legitimate top pair NHL defenseman. Mm-hmm. Like an Aaron Ekblad. Like he doesn't necessarily have to be Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Matthew Schaefer. But he's got to be Matthew Schneider played in the 90s. Mathieu.
Yes.
Why? Just to be annoying. That's why. He doesn't have to be Matthew Schaefer, but he's got to be in that. He is a top pair NHL defenseman.
Right.
I think we hope Sam Renzel can get there. I'm not banking on that.
I mean, it's
not out of the question, but it's unlikely.
These guys, like once they're like fully like in the primes of their career, they'll slot in differently into the lineup. Granted that they're all here, but like, you know, if Sam Renzel on most other teams is a top line player, but because he's here and he's behind Artem Levshunov, he's on the second pair. Oh well,
sure. Like
Nicholas Hjalmarsson and Brian Campbell were second pair defensemen for the Blackhawks because you had Keith and Seabrook at the time.
Yeah.
So like,
but
I'm not banking that every one of their defensemen is going to be Keith and Seabrook, but like if you have a guy that hits their ceiling like Levshunov and Renzel hits it, I think Levshunov's probably ceiling is more geared towards that number 1 type of skill set. And maybe Renzel's more of that like, oh, he's going to be more of the offensive specialist kind of thing. Who knows? There's still so much to figure out for these guys.
Well, and to answer the question too, in terms of like finding a guy that fits perfectly, you have to do it also with the conversation of which teams are looking to move guys like that. Who is rebuilding? Who is hitting the reset button? And when you're looking around the league, like teams with young, good players aren't typically looking to move good young players.
No.
So it's,
if a team's going into a rebuild, they're like look at the Hawks. They got rid of good mid-20s aged players. Hagel, DeBrincat, Strome, even though they just let him walk. But like they reset the clock with Doc and Boquist and stuff like that. Like it was a complete, like, we're getting rid of everything.
So what teams are doing that? That's the experiment. Toronto, we've already talked about Nyes. Now I know they're looking to make changes in the front office. Is that GM going to be like, I'm not trading Matthew Nyes? What are you talking about?
If you listen to their ownership group press conference, they are vehemently against rebuilding. So
okay, just keep doing what you're doing.
Like you're not just gonna. I think if you're Toronto, you don't just give away Nylander and Matthews and say everything's a bust. Like those guys, you still use, but you do need to change things up, like a lot. So short of Matthews and Nylander, I think if I was Toronto, I'd look at really trying to wipe things clean, but doesn't sound like that's the route they're going to go.
So then maybe, right? Pittsburgh, as long as Sidney Crosby's playing, they're going for it.
As long as Sidney Crosby has breath in his lungs, they are not rebuilding.
The Washington Capitals might be a team to consider. With Ovechkin walking away, they're going to kind of have to rebuild things there. But you look around there.
Not like a teardown. They'll definitely have to shuffle some things around, but they have a good young group moving forward.
Like they're not going to move Alexei Protas. Like that's their next, unless they say like, oh, you know what? We just had 20 great years with Alex Ovechkin, and now it is time for us to just start from scratch.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do that.
We're going to build around Cole Hudson.
Cole Hudson, Ryan Leonard, like they have some good players.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that that's the thing is like, I don't know who the next, honestly, the next 2 teams that I could think of as just like deserves a complete reset would be like the Rangers and the Maple Leafs. And I don't think either team is going to do
Leafs won't do it. I think the Rangers might be more up for it than You think?
I don't think James Dolan will allow the Rangers.
But who are they? But you look at that, like Alexis Lafreniere, probably not. He's been thriving since they got rid of Panarin. He's finally seemingly arriving here at age 24.
He's at least a little bit more than he's shown before. Yeah.
Will Cooley is up, deals up after next year, but he's an RFA.
Mm-hmm.
He's 24. I wouldn't like. That's kind of the thing is where do you find these pieces, and that's why the conversation is focused on Nyes and Robertson and Thomas because those three teams have apparently expressed interest in moving those guys for the right cost.
Right.
I'm not giving up Levshunov for any of those three. You could maybe,
I don't think
maybe Jason Robertson. I would think about it, but still, I just think until you look, if you know the draft lottery would dictate a lot of this too. Like if you land third.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, we're probably going to pick the best defenseman available in a draft full of really good defensemen. You might be a little more willing, but then at that point, I'd rather just trade pick to Dallas.
Right. It's
and say, take who you want and give us Robertson, and we'll give you number 3 and Florida's pick next year and Kevin Korchinski or whatever you want.
Yeah.
With number 3 or being the centerpiece of that trade. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, here's a guy we already like, and
yeah,
you know,
yeah, I would rather do that than just reset the clock with, okay, we're going to trade our 21-year-old, projected number 1 future defenseman
for an 18-year-old,
an 18-year-old projected number 1 future defenseman, and just spin your wheel. Like, yeah, I'd rather trade the pick than the player that they already have.
That I think that's where I'm at too. It's like just if it's not 1 or 2, if it's not McKenna or Stenberg, trade it for immediate help.
See what they do.
That's what I would do.
The first part of the question, that was who would you target? I would look at the Maple Leafs and see what their plan is. One guy that I think would be interesting is Dakota Joshua, and he's not a top end guy. Not a young guy. I think he'll be 30 at the start of next season.
Yeah.
Or at some point next season. But that is a big physical guy you put in your bottom 6. A little bit of a veteran, been around. I think that would be interesting. And it just depends on what the Leafs want to do. That'd be someone that I would feel like not going to cost you a lot. Don't have to worry about money. And if you're not going to go all children in your lineup, that's someone that addresses, a need in the forwards group of hey, we need some guys to be, physical. And I would do something like that.
I'm down with that. I like that idea. I like him. That's not quite the marquee name that I think people are thinking, but when you're looking at something this organization needs that could be addressed relatively cheaply, that certainly checks a box. It's a good player, a physical player, an affordable player, and not completely fits the timeline, but he's also not ancient.
He's not a long-term thing.
No.
It's placeholder.
100%. All right, let's do one more here before we wrap things up. This is from Alex A. Swiss, who says, would have loved to go to the Düsseldorf games, but I am priced out at €250 just for the ticket. Who is going and where is your limit for a ticket? And I know we talked to Holly, who had her hotel booked and her flight booked, and then she saw the price of tickets and said, nope, I'm out. €250 is $289.76 in American dollars.
Yeah, and
per ticket.
I was seeing things with those tickets that were more than that for not great seats, and just kind of asking around, digging into it a little bit. That's European sports. It's gotten really expensive over there to go to games, and it's not exclusive to Europe. Think about how expensive it is to go to sporting events here. But the fact that it's special events, it's the ticket pricing is, and I'm sure Hawks don't really have much control over that.
I don't think so.
So I don't know exactly how much there is to do about it, but it is unfortunate that people from Chicago want to go and travel and see the game, like that's going to be a ton of money.
Well, let me say
to go and do that.
I'll say
and
this.
Even people locally, like you're talking about Holly, talking about Alex, who I believe is in Switzerland by his name.
Makes sense.
Like where you don't have to go overseas travel and stuff. Like, you know, in Europe, it's a lot easier to go even just country to country because it's closer together. But like, that's still a lot of money to go on that kind of trip.
We are going to go to overtime real quick. So if you're watching on Fast Channel, switch over to allchgo.com to continue the conversation. A couple things there. If, for instance, Liverpool and Manchester United played a meaningful game in Soldier Field, not a friendly, not like, we're going to bring over a couple guys, you know, and they're going to wave and play for 5 minutes, but a game that actually means something, or two games that actually mean something. Insert Premier League team you prefer, or, you know, a Spanish team, whatever your preferred league is. Those tickets are going to be astronomical.
Yeah.
Because it's a big event that doesn't happen here very often. It's the same thing in Düsseldorf. It is a game with stakes in the middle of the season. And I think what the league is hoping for, they don't want a bunch of Chicagoans going to Düsseldorf to watch the Blackhawks. They want a bunch of people from Düsseldorf attending an NHL game and becoming NHL fans.
Yeah.
And not just Düsseldorf, but Europe in general. But like, I think what they want is people from Europe to go and consume the product. So I think that's why it's going to be more expensive. The exclusivity of the event is going to make it more expensive.
But it's pricing people out in Europe is the problem.
But I agree with that, and that's unfortunate. But any premier event, I'm priced out of Taylor Swift. I'm priced out of Metallica most of the time. Yeah. I can't go see them at the Sphere, right? Like, as much as I would love to, and they're one of my favorite bands, I can't afford that ticket now. So I like, there's just certain things that because of their exclusivity become expensive. That sucks, but that's capitalism. That's what it is. Like, that's the idea, is you want to make it this super, super special thing, and only, unfortunately, the richest of the rich can afford to attend them without going into massive financial debt.
Yeah.
But if you'd like to go to a Hawks game, we can solve that problem for you. We just got 6 more tickets to our takeover on April 15th against the Sharks, the season finale.
Don't forget about it.
Released, just let out. They weren't available. Now they are. You should get them. AllCHGO.com.
This is not a joke. This is real.
No, they're really out there.
They really have 6
and if you're
more
a
tickets
diehard,
available.
you will save 20% on your order. So if you've been waiting to become a diehard, looking for a reason, want to buy a couple tickets, gonna pretty much pay for itself. AllCHGO.com/join to become a diehard. If you're already a diehard, you'll save 20%. But grab those. There's only 6 left.
Yep.
That also includes a post game. You get to come here and watch us do the post game show, so you can call us idiots in person and not just on the chat.
In the studio, a live studio audience.
I'm looking forward to people in the chat being in the background just going, LMAO, wrong, no, idiot. How much did the Blackhawks pay you to say that?
Yeah.
But they'll only come if they lose. Yeah. That'll be fun.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's also the pregame happy hour at Crossroads, just to be fun. And those tickets are 300 level, are they not? Or are they the 100?
I think they're 100 level.
We sat in this? We sat in the suite, didn't we? Sit.
I think we already
was
sat
the
in
Detroit game 300 level. Yeah, so these will be 100 level tickets. Yeah. So you get a good seat. Not that there's a bad seat in the United Center, but
not really.
Sitting in the 100 levels will be fun. Hawks versus Sharks. Bedard versus Celebrini. Frondell versus Will Smith. Nazar versus Michael Misa. Knight versus Askarov. It's the rebuild wars. Yeah.
Here, lower level seats with $40 food and drink vouchers included. Live post-game show opportunity at the CHGO studio after. So I don't know if there's a pregame thing there. We'll find out.
I thought we did.
But there's at least a post-game thing and $40 food and drink included.
Well, if there's not, then we're going to do it anyways, unofficial.
All right.
Yeah.
So get those tickets, and we will see you then. Hopefully we'll see you before then. Tomorrow night, Hawks and Oilers, 8 o'clock puck drop. 7:30 pregame. We'll talk to you then on CHGO Blackhawks.
We all silly like the mayor.